We spend our lives looking into mirrors, expecting to see our own reflections staring back. We rely on the surface of things to be flat, predictable, and still. But tonight, we are talking about a time when the surface of a lake decided to become something else entirely. Close your eyes, let your breathing slow down, and imagine standing at the very edge of the water. It was late October in a quiet corner of the deep woods where the mist hangs heavy and the air smells of dampened earth and pine. A traveler, let's call her Sarah, was hiking alone, seeking the kind of silence you can only find miles away from the nearest road. She found a secluded basin, a small lake tucked away like a secret, its water dark and completely undisturbed. As the sun began to dip behind the tree line, casting long skeletal shadows across the banks, Sarah sat down to catch her breath. The silence was absolute. She leaned forward, resting her hands on the cold, mossy stones of the shore, and peered down at the water. It was perfectly still, a dark glass mirroring the graying sky. But then, as she watched, the center of the lake began to shift. There was no wind, no breeze to stir the surface, yet the water began to swell upward. It didn't ripple or splash. It rose in a slow, deliberate movement. Sarah held her breath, watching as the liquid formed a distinct, unmistakable shape. It was a face, a human face, pressing up from beneath the surface, as if pushing against a translucent, invisible skin. So picture this. She could make out the bridge of a nose, the heavy curve of eyelids, the sharp line of a jaw, just sitting there in the water. And it wasn't a reflection, okay? Not the sky, not the trees. This was something physical, something made of water itself, somehow just ignoring gravity, ignoring the entire weight of the lake around it. It hung there for what felt like forever, hovering right above the surface, smooth, cold, and way too real to make sense of. Sarah felt this shiver rip down her spine, that prickly electric feeling at the back of her neck you get when something is just wrong. And the second she reached a finger toward it, whatever was holding it together just let go. The face dropped back into the dark water, and the lake went right back to being nothing. Just water. Sarah did not stick around to see if it would come back up. She got up, turned around, and walked straight back into the trees, leaving that strange, living lake behind her. And honestly, I think about that a lot. How the earth and the water hold on to things, memories almost, and every once in a while they let us see them. Okay, this next one. This one's based on a real account, a phrase that kept showing up across different devices, and nobody could explain why. We're all surrounded by tech these days, right? Phones, tablets, laptops, these little windows into the rest of the world. And we just assume we're the ones in control of what comes out of them. But what happens when a device starts talking back in a voice that isn't yours? So there were these two sisters, Chloe and Maya, just hanging out in their living room on a rainy Tuesday night. Nothing was happening, just the radiator humming, rain tapping the window. Chloe's on the couch with her tablet. Maya's at the desk across the room on her laptop. And then Maya just freezes, like mid-sentence in her head, just stops. She spins her chair around. Did you just say something? Chloe looks up, totally confused. Me? No, I haven't said a word in like 20 minutes. And Maya gets this look on her face. You know that look, that little flicker of something's not right. And she goes, I swear I heard a voice. It was robotic, like a woman's voice, but flat, synthetic. It said, "Thank you for the juice, Mother." I mean, what? Chloe laughs it off, a little nervous. You're hearing things. Maybe something's still playing somewhere. So they check. Every browser, every app, completely closed, completely silent, nothing. And they just sit there, the unease building until it's almost suffocating. 3 days later, Chloe's on her laptop reading some article, and a video ad pops up. Except it's not really an ad. It's just this burst of garbled static. And then, clear as day, that same flat synthetic voice cuts through. "Thank you for the juice, Mother." Chloe rips her headphones off, heart pounding. She replays it, hoping it's just a glitch, and this time, totally normal. Just some upbeat little jingle. No voice, no woman, just silence in her room, almost mocking her. And here's the thing. It wasn't a file on her computer. It wasn't some software bug. It felt like something had crossed over between their devices completely. Moving through the air like a secret, just waiting for the right moment to talk again. Maybe we just need to be a little more careful about what we let into our homes. Or maybe we're all just tuned into a frequency we haven't figured out yet. Let's step back into the dusk for this one. A whisper from someone's local cemetery. A group of friends looking for a little thrill to break up a boring week. Decide to hang out in this sprawling historic graveyard. It's around 3 in the morning. Sky completely black. Not a single star out. They find a quiet spot on some raised stone steps and pull out a Ouija board. The cold night air is brushing against their skin, making them shiver. For almost 40 straight minutes, they sit there in dead silence, whispering their questions into the dark, waiting for anything. Nothing. No movement. No answers. Then the whole atmosphere shifts. Out of the shadows, they spot a woman in a long, flowing dress, walking briskly down the path straight toward them. Trying not to get caught trespassing, they scramble to hide the board and fake a casual conversation, forcing out some awkward laughs. But as she walks right past the steps where they're sitting, she doesn't even glance their way. Head tilted down, face basically hidden in shadow. They watch in total silence as she gets maybe 15-20 feet away, and her footsteps aren't making a sound, not one. And then, completely defying logic, she just starts to fade. Not walking behind a tree, not turning a corner. She just dissolves into the air. They lean forward, squinting, telling themselves it's just their eyes playing tricks in the dark. She's gone. Completely. Panic sets in and they scatter. But here's the part that really gets me. When they finally catch their breath and start comparing notes, every single one of them remembers her wearing a different colored dress. One swears it was stark white. Another says deep blue. One insists pale yellow. The last one says soft pink. They spend the next hour searching the entire cemetery, which only has one locked entrance, and there's nobody else inside. She just wasn't part of this reality to begin with. Next one's a lot more mundane on the surface, until it isn't. A mom running a busy household full of stepkids and pets needs to deep clean the carpets after the new puppy has an accident. She goes to grab their big wet vacuum from the storage closet, and it's just not there. Completely empty space where it should be. So she starts searching. Top floor first, moving through the hallway, checking the guest rooms. Then the main floor, the living areas, down to the basement, even the garage. Nothing. At one point, she walks straight into her daughter's room, flips on the overhead light, scans every corner, the closet, the floor. Completely empty. She flips the light back off and walks out. Frustrated, she asks her partner to help look. He retraces her steps exactly. Walks down the hall. Steps into that same daughter's room she'd just checked minutes earlier. And there it is. The vacuum. Sitting right in the middle of the carpet. Cord plugged into the wall like it had just been used. But when they check the machine, the water tank's completely empty, like it had already done the job. She feels this cold wave of dread hit her because she knows she would have tripped right over that thing if it had been sitting there just a minute before. It's like proof that solid objects can just slip out of our reality and drop back in, ignoring physics completely. Last one. This is about what happens when grief cracks something open that maybe shouldn't be cracked. A 13-year-old girl loses someone she deeply loves to a sudden heart attack. The grief is so heavy her mind can't let it go, and she starts having these vivid, terrifying nightmares almost every night. In the dreams, she sees him standing with his back to her, and slowly, his head turns all the way around, and it's him, but his face is twisted into this unnatural smile, like something wearing his face as a mask. Sometime later, she's visiting a family friend on the 8th floor of an older apartment building. She and her family step into this small, cramped elevator to leave, and just as the doors start closing, a strange man rushes in and steps inside with them. Her heart stops, because it's him, the face from her nightmares, exact same face, exact same unnatural ear-to-ear smile. The whole ride down, he just stands there in silence, doesn't blink, just stares straight at her with that frozen smile. She feels like the air's been sucked out of the elevator. The second the doors open, she has a full panic attack and bolts outside, sobbing, convinced she's losing her mind. But then her family pulls her aside and confirms it. They saw it too. That stranger in the elevator looked exactly, identically like the person they'd lost. Not a hallucination, something else entirely, and that's where we'll leave it for tonight. I hope wherever you're listening from, in bed, on a drive, doing dishes at 1 a.m. for some reason, this gave your mind a quiet place to rest for a bit, especially with that storm rolling in the background. If this helped you unwind or gave you something better to stare at than your phone in the middle of the night, stick around, hit subscribe. I'll have more for you next time. And hey, before I go, my heart's with everyone in Venezuela right now. What's happening there is awful, and if you're able to donate or support relief efforts in any way, please do. If tonight actually talked your brain down off its ledge, let a girl know in the comments. I'm going to leave some extra storm sounds, so let the rain do its thing, get some rest, and I'll see you next time.